Truman once said, progress occurs when courageous, skillful leaders seize their opportunity to change things for the better. There are not many people throughout history who we can say have done this. But when I think of the ones who have, there is one man who comes to mind. To further my knowledge about this man, I have researched the following sources. I have www.goodquotes.info, www.africanonline.com, www.montgomeryboycott.com, www.martinlutherking.org, www.712educators.about.com, www.funfacts.com, www.noelprize.org, and www.quotationspage.org. The man who I say comes to mind, and the man I am here to pay tribute to, is Dr. Martin Luther King. The reason why I am here to pay tribute to Dr. King is because, one, he led the successful Montgomery bus boycott. Two, he created the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in 1957 to direct the Civil Rights Movement. And three, he received much recognition for his national accomplishments, and most important being the Nobel Peace Prize. Anyone who has went through school and even remotely paid attention to history class knows who Dr. Martin Luther King is and what his life stood for. But when you ask them what movements did he lead, what groups did he create, or even what awards did he win, not everyone knows the answer. My tribute to Dr. King will solve this problem. Dr. Martin Luther King, a great man in history for the civil rights, was the great mind behind the successful Montgomery bus boycott. On December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat. Seeing this in the news, Dr. King got an idea and the Montgomery bus boycott was born. The boycott lasted for 385 days, and the situation became so intense that even Dr. King's house was bombed. King was also arrested during this campaign, which ended with a United States District Court ruling in the Browder versus Gale case that ended racial segregation on all Montgomery public buses. When Dr. King was asked why he started the movement, he simply replied, "There comes a time when people get tired of being trampled over by the iron feet of oppression." This peaceful resistance was no cakewalk for any of the people who were involved. There are many countless accounts of women and men being arrested, beaten, and even shot for their involvement in this case. Annie B. Giles, a woman involved in one of the early bus sit-ins, said, "The amount of violence they face for nonviolent action was awful." Dr. King's fight for civil liberties and racial equality did not stop there, however. He decided he would take it on an even larger scale 2 years later. In 1957, Reverend King, Ralph Abernathy, and other civil rights activists founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. The conference was created to harness the moral authority and the organizing power of black churches to conduct nonviolent protests in the service of civil rights reform. Gandhi's nonviolent techniques were very useful to Dr. King's campaign to correct the civil rights laws that were put in place in Alabama. Dr. King believed that organized nonviolent protests against the system of Southern segregation known as the Jim Crow laws would lead to extensive media coverage of the struggle for black equality and voting rights. Dr. King's campaigns were often dramatic standoffs with segregation authorities. Sometimes these confrontations even turned violent. Dr. King's organization and leadership during the March for Black Rights to vote, desegregation, labor rights, and other basic civil rights made his beliefs come true. Journalistic accounts and televised footage of the daily deprivation of indignities suffered by Southern blacks and of segregationist violence and harassment of civil rights workers and marchers produced a wave of sympathetic public opinion that convinced the majority of the Americans in the United States that the civil rights movement was the most important issue in American politics in the early 1960s. Most of the rights protested for were successfully implemented in the law of the United States with the successful passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Dr. King's protest strategies were even so good that the FBI, under written order from the Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, began phone tapping Dr. King's phones in 1963. The FBI used these details caught on tape over the next 5 years in an attempt to force Dr. King out of his leadership position in the SCLC. Even though being good at what you do leaves you with a bunch of enemies, there are still a lot of people that appreciate you for what you do. And with all this appreciation comes awards. Dr. King is no stranger to awards by any means. King was awarded at least 50 honorary degrees from colleges and universities in the U.S. and abroad. He even has more than 730 cities in the United States that have streets named after him, says funfacts.com. But the most prestigious award he received was the Nobel Peace Prize. Dr. King was given a Nobel Peace Prize for his courageous bouts of nonviolent protest, even through the mass amounts of violence he faced. As a matter of fact, it was said by Gunnar John, the chairman of the Nobel Committee, in an interview that we did not award him with the Nobel Peace Prize because he led a racial minority in their struggle for equality. But the reason that we gave it to him was because in one of Dr. King's speeches, he stated, "Whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also." And 50,000 Negroes obeyed this commandment in December 1955 and won a victory. Dr. King's leadership and ability to always keep his people in mind through whatever happens in his life has been something that has truly made him a hero. Even when he received his Nobel Peace Prize, Dr. King said, "I accepted this award on behalf of a civil rights movement which is moving with determination and a majestic scorn for risk and danger to establish a reign of freedom and a rule of justice." Dr. King's ability to help his people establish that reign of freedom and that rule of justice is why I honor him today. His leadership of the successful Montgomery bus boycott, his creation and leadership of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and awardance of a Nobel Peace Prize are what make him a hero of the past, present, and the future. A hero that believed our lives begin to end the same day the day we become silent about things that matter.